I'm Vicki Hogarth and welcome to Southwest Magazine. The Victoria Street Centre has become an important gathering place and community centre in St. Stephen, providing space for everything from concerts and art classes to public meetings and community conversations. Located at 32 Victoria Street and operated by the St. Croix Church, the centre has a long history in the community. And now, as the centre raises funds for a much-needed new heating system, those involved are looking at how it can continue serving local residents for years to come. Joining me to tell us more about the centre, the fundraising campaign, and what happens there, and what may be ahead, is Brian Brooks. Thank you so much, Brian, for taking the time to come into the studio today.
Thank you for having us.
I appreciate having you here. I've been to so many events at the Victoria Street Centre, have also been a part of hosting events there as well, so I know what a special place it is in the community. But for those who haven't had the chance all across Charlotte County to see something or be a part of something at the centre, how do you describe what it is and its history to people who haven't been there?
Sure. Well, in true maritime fashion, you know how people say, do you know where the Kent building used to be? Well, it's right next. Yeah, well, it's that kind of thing. People still refer to it as the old Catholic school. So it started off that way, and I want to give some honor and recognition to people from Holy Rosary who were involved in the original piece of it. And it was there was a visionary, Father Gillen, who pastored that church for 31 years. He had a vision to have a school, and to have a school for his parishioners, but also other children in the area. And so his vision finally came to fruition in 1965 when the church was built on property they had, the Catholic Church had on Victoria Street. And so the building went up at a cost of $98,000 in 1965. It wouldn't be that now, for sure. But anyway, it was a school, like an elementary school, for several years. It got taken over by the district. School district had not long after they started, actually, but it continued as a private Catholic school for quite a while, until well into the 70s. And then eventually it became sort of an interdenominational school. A lot of people liked the idea of a religious school where they could get some curriculum that way and not total public school. So no, it flourished for a good period of time. It also housed a school, a commercial training school, run by the Sisters of Charity. And that went from 1930 till 1973. A good friend of mine, she graduated from there in 1968 and worked her whole career in the school district office. That went until 1973, when they had their last graduation, and that closed. And the school actually closed in 1977. After that, it was renamed the Sarah McCaffrey Center. Now, a lot of people know that building by that name. Sarah McCaffrey was a very dedicated, faithful parishioner in the church. Was a sacristan. I think that's correct. I don't know. I had to look it up because I didn't know what it was. But anyway, the person who looks after all of the things for communion and the priest's vestments, and is an organizer of the whole thing and schedules people and does a lot of work. She did that for many years. She was a retired school teacher. I believe she believed in Father Gillen's vision of the educational piece, and she ended up giving $70,000 towards this building. So she was responsible for 60-some% of the budget. Now that's faith in action, you know. So, and she also had sponsored scholarships for students and things like that and whatever. Moving it forward, we started in the building in 1997, and then we bought the building in 2000 from Holy Rosary. It was then, we were then part of Vineyard denomination. So again, a lot of people now, when you talk about it, they say, well, where's that? And I say, the Vineyard. Oh, the Vineyard. So they know where it is by that, but that's no longer the case. We're not part of that organization now. That's another whole story I won't get into. But anyway, no, so St. Croix Church is what we call it now, and we do own the building. We are the main tenant of the building, but a lot of churches have a building and it's there for the sanctuary, and then there's a hall on the side or something, or a separate building for social events and educational events and so on and so forth. We're trying to sort of flip that. We want it to, so we renamed it the Victoria Street Center 4 years ago. And so we're trying to promote it as a community center that happens to have a church in it. And we're the main tenant. But we have other things going on in the building, and that's kind of what we want, okay?
Okay, and I think that the last event I was there, it wasn't that long ago, it was this summer. It was Rod Cumberland's book launch was there.
Right.
I think there was a community panel on homelessness that we got to be a part of as well. This is all within, I think, the last year. So tremendous amount of events happening there. But you mentioned too, places like the Multicultural Association of Charlotte County are not just using it regularly for events, but are regular tenants as well. Explain to us a little bit about who else occupies the space, either on and off, but on the regular, or for special events.
Sure. So again, part of our vision now for the Victoria Street Center is to offer functions for people that might not normally go to a church building. If it was just identified as a church building, they might not go. But if it's a community center with all kinds of other things happening, you know. SCC, St. Croix Church, remains the main tenant of the building for sure. We have 2 services on Sunday. We have a Celtic service early, and then we have a contemporary service after that, both in the mornings. And then there's various other things that happen in the church. And our church wants to be opening and welcoming to everybody, and I mean everybody. We're in the process of affirming that we have a mission towards the poor, the marginalized, the homeless. You know, that is a main tenet in a sense of what we want to do in the community, kind of thing. But anyway, like I say, we're welcoming all, regardless of race, color, economic level, religion, gender, or sexual orientation.
Wonderful.
We accept everybody. And we feel that, you know, everybody is a child of God, and we want them to be part of
I think
the church.
it's, you know, and I'd like to interject here because I see my mom's church doing the same, the United Church as well, and went through the affirming process, but they use their space for, I think it even gets rented for elections, for instance. That's where people can cast their ballot. And I think it's nice when we talk about things like inclusivity for people to be reminded as well that that includes people of faith, right? So, I mean, I think to not be closed off to the idea of renting something that also is home to a religious gathering. I think it also shows your own inclusivity, and I think it's important for all of us who, I think sometimes there is this trend to think secular is the most inclusive. But I
Right.
think the fact that your church is so welcoming to
Right.
all, then maybe those people who like to think of things as having only a secular, that's
Right.
what they want, the purpose is, to think of how you are being inclusive when they consider the idea of using your space as well. So I
Right.
just wanted to highlight that because
Yeah,
it's
for
a nice
sure.
thing to keep in mind.
So regular tenants, Charlotte County Multicultural Association is a big tenant of ours. St. Croix Counseling Office is there. There's 3 different counselors that use that office. The Charlotte County Time Bank, which is a newer entity, and my wife is heavily involved in, that's somewhat housed out of there as well. The Create Movement Ceramic Studio is upstairs. And then, I have to say this right, Little Treble Makers Piano Studio. It's a play on words. She does some of her training there too. And then various other organizations that come and go. St. Croix Chamber Orchestra practices there. Key Industries, employment training for those with disabilities, do workshops there. We welcome and sponsor the Muslim community in our area to do their Ramadan meals there. When they're doing their fasting and they have a meal at the end of every week, we welcome them and are part of that. The St. Stephen Visual Art Guild, there's a high school model government group that meets there, and there's a homeschooling group that uses it sometimes as well. Then the 2 big activities that we're known for, I think, and that most people would identify us with, is the Loyal Tides Coffee House, which happens every second Friday of the month from November to April. And that is very well received. And we have a featured artist every time for a half an hour, some local, some outside, and then it's open mic, and so anybody can get up and perform. And so, yeah, it's packed normally for all of those nights, and they're waiting at the door to get in, kind of thing, because we do the door, so I know how that works.
I've heard wonderful things about that. I haven't been yet, but
Yeah.
it's on this year.
Yeah.
It's a must because I've heard
Yeah.
from especially some of the people that attend
Yeah.
such a fabulous showcase for local talent.
Yeah, and most people say that. Most of the artists and performers that come in say, wow, this doesn't happen everywhere, and they're really pleased with it.
Do you find, Brian, when you're thinking about all the ways you're innovating to be of service to the community, having Ramadan celebrations and even having your own church be part of that, I think
Right.
is such a beautiful example of what we see across Charlotte County and rural New Brunswick so often are these neighborly things like sharing Ramadan with your neighbors.
Right,
And
right.
it opens our eyes to so much as well. Do you find pivoting as you are for 2026 to find other in a way, shareholders in the building, people that use this as a local community center, has been a positive experience? Is there some silver lining to that where
Oh, yeah, for
even
sure.
as a congregation, it opens you up to all that's going on in your community and also other ways that you can be of service to creating community?
Well, for instance, just an example of that, a good number of people that were involved in the support group that brought in all of the Syrian refugees at the time of the war and so on, and they
Yep.
Trudeau
Yep.
said 100,000 they would welcome in. So we got, I think, 5 or 6 families out of that. A lot of people in the church were part of that support group that helped bring them in, helped get them housed, helped with all kinds of things, right? We in particular became very close to one of the families, lived right around the corner, and we became sort of Canadian grandparents to the kids, and still are. They have now moved to Fredericton and opened their own store, but we're still connected to them. There was another family that came in that were from Uganda. They were Muslim, and we've connected with them, and again, we're grandparents pretty much to them. So yeah, trying to connect and welcome people and so on. And so this is just somewhat of an extension of that. I know all of the history and what people think about Muslims and what they think about Islam and so on. I have studied some in Islam. I've actually taught a little bit around Islam to some students back a number of years ago. So I know some of it. And the people that you meet that are Muslim in our community, I'm telling you, it troubles me when people judge them. If you would get to know them, they are the most hospitable people you'll ever meet in your life. You cannot go to their home. They don't want you to come in. They don't want you to have tea. They bring out, whatever they have. Everybody sits. It's not like come in 5-10 minutes and go. They don't understand that. No, it's like, oh, welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, and that's their culture. That's the way that it is. So. What we know of Islam and Muslims some in the news and so on are extremists. They are not the true Muslims, the true followers of Islam. It's not as bloodthirsty as it's portrayed if you actually looked at it in a balanced way. So, I mean, in that sense, I think, no, come on. They're people of faith. I know it's not the same faith. I know it's technically different gods, although I question it. When I welcomed them one time when they came in, and I said, well, okay, if we're all children of Father Abraham, which you claim and we claim, then we're at least cousins. Maybe distant cousins, but we're cousins. Okay. So anyway, I just wanted them to feel comfortable having their meal there and whatever, and we've wanted to do that for them, because they don't have a building anywhere in the area. So
I think that is such a beautiful thing and such an inspiring thing for other people across Charlotte County to look at and to see that level of inclusivity. I also think what's interesting too is when we're looking at putting in this new heating system, it's quite an expense. We're talking about $45,000,
right?
Which is a big hurdle, and a lot of times innovating for your congregation is how you keep your building alive. I know that from following a number of churches that are finding new ways to sustain what is their place of worship, but also seconds now as a community center. And I think there's so much respect I have for the level of work that takes, and the level of mobility as a group to see a vision for how you can sustain something into the future. Nevertheless, what your group is dealing with right now is a big investment.
Budget crunch, for sure.
How do you hope, and I know from renting the building is a wonderful way, and I will love to show images of just how big the space is in the show so people can get an idea of how many things it can be used for.
Sure.
Whether it's a community gathering, a celebration, a launch of a book, it could be multiple things. How do people secure, whether it's a regular rental of the Victoria Street Center or a one-time rental, how can people use the building and also benefit the heating system by renting it?
Right. Just before I go to that, though, there's one other thing I wanted to say, which was a major piece of how people know us and connect to us, is we also sponsor the Victoria Street Community Garden. So it's right next to our building. It's a fairly large space. We have a big double lot kind of thing. So we have a community garden there. It's all fenced in, and people can come and rent a box there for a very minimal cost. But we also dedicate 7 boxes in there for the food bank. So all of the produce that comes out of that goes to the food bank. And so we're known for that too, that the community garden is there. Anybody can come and rent a box and grow their own vegetables and so on. And so that's another big thing. So coming back to the heating system, we've had an electric furnace that is, I'm not a technician, so an electric furnace that heats water and goes to the radiators. It's an old, from the time the building was built. It's not efficient, it keeps breaking down. We got to replace it. And so we're putting in heat pumps. The total cost is $60,000. We're getting $15,000 back from the government on the rebates. So we still have to raise $45,000. So we're a small congregation. That's a big stretch for us to try and come up with $45,000, but we got to do it. Also, the other piece, of course, and this goes for the whole building, not just us in the church, but all the rentals and so on, is air conditioning. We don't have any at this point, but the heat pumps would do both, and it would make it much more comfortable. Upstairs, they have a couple of small air conditioning units in the windows and things, but again, it's not very efficient. If we could get the heat pumps, the industrial heat pumps, oh yeah, it would look after a lot of things for a lot of people, and people coming, early mornings and are freezing to death, and then people come in the summer and they're sweating to death. It would balance things out a lot. So in that sense, I guess what I'm saying is, if you're an older parishioner and you remember Father Gillen, or you remember Sarah McCaffrey, and you want to honor them somehow in their memory, you could give to this project. If you benefit from the building in any way, like a lot of people are loyal people to the loyal tides. They're loyal to the coffee house, and they wait for it. I have people ask me all the time, when's it starting up? When's it starting up? And so they're anxious to come, but yeah, that costs money to keep the building going and so on and so forth to do that. Same with the community garden. If you benefit from the community garden, okay, but even if you're a person who believes in being inclusive, you believe in a place that could be a safe space for people to come and gain spirituality, but also social. I mean,
community spirits, it's its own thing too, isn't it?
I truly believe, and I've gone to church all my life, but I mean, I believe that, church is more than just the spiritual aspect of it. It's very much a social community. It's also, people who feel isolated and don't have support group and whatever. A church can be a body that lifts you up when you're in need. I've seen it many, many times.
And the same also can be said for a community center. I know that communities that have healthy, active community centers are often proven to be much healthier communities because of that social center that they offer, that place to connect the locals so that neighbors truly do become neighbors. So when people want to give or rent, what is the best way to make that donation or to go about booking Victoria Street Center so you feel you're renting somewhere that really gives back to community?
Yeah, even though we're definitely promoting it as a community center, it's still run, the building is run by St. Croix Church. So it's stcroixchurch.ca is the website for us. If you want to give, it is give to scc@gmail.com.
Okay, so that's where you can send your e-transfers.
If you're old school like me and you still write checks, you could write a check and send it to Victoria Street Center, 32 Victoria Street, E3L 2R6. But make sure if you're going to do that you make it out to St. Croix Church, not Victoria Street Center. And here's the other kicker with that, is that we can give you a tax receipt for anything you donate. But it has to be made out to St. Croix Church.
Make it out to St. Croix Church.
Because we're the charitable organization, not the Victoria Street Center. So I know it's a little confusing, but I mean, yeah, if you wanted to do that, that would be great. We do have a few little fundraisers coming up on September the 13th. We're hosting a mini splits, so it's an ice cream social, banana splits, and we also have an auction at the same time that we're going to try and auction off some things. And October the 4th, we have a soup, bread, and dessert fundraiser. We often have those in the church to raise funds. We went through raising funds for a dishwasher here not too long ago. So that was part of what we do, which is a great time to come, and have great soups that everybody brings in, and everybody brings in homemade bread, and everybody brings in desserts, and we share with, and so that's open to anybody. And in November, we hope, it's still in the works, we hope to have an art show and sale, but we're still trying to get that together, right?
Well, hopefully if someone's watching the show and they have some items they might like to auction as well, they will also get in touch and be a part of. If you maybe can't do a financial donation, do an auction donation.
Many ways to be involved, but I guess we're saying we need help, and so we're reaching out, and anybody who I remember years ago the St. Patrick's Hall in Milltown, connected to the Milltown Catholic Church, was doing a big renovation, and I'm not Catholic, I'm not part of that church, but I believe in that hall. I've been in the hall for many different activities. So absolutely, I said, sign me up. I'll contribute to it for sure.
I believe in this community too. I believe in the wonderful work you do. So I hope people watching at home think about giving any way they can and continuing this legacy that, for me, I can't tell you how many events I continue to go to at your beautiful center. It's also a very warm and welcoming place. So when people host it there, it's a no-brainer for me to make plans to go. So I appreciate your time so much, Brian. As we wrap up the show, any final words for people at home?
Thanks for listening, and God bless you all.
My guest today has been Brian Brooks from the Victoria Street Center. They are raising money for a new heating system. I'm Vicki Hogarth. Thank you for watching Southwest Magazine.
Southwest Magazine is a news and public affairs production of CHCO Television.